30 minutes in the penalty box. No, not literally in the penalty box, but in the penalty box, the band. The penalty box is a band from the Durham region that used to host jams. So when everything came crashing down a little over a year ago, we had to stop. The only way we can come back is to do it virtually, so we're creating this show. It's called 30 Minutes in the Penalty Box, and every week we are going to invite a musician from the area to sit in with us and perform with us for 30 minutes. We're going to interview them so they can tell you their stories and you can learn more about them. You will be amazed at the level of talent in this area. We're hoping to knock your socks off. We haven't been able to do this without help, though. I want to mention some people that have sponsored us. Scott Wesley at Gus Brown Pontiac Buick, Rob Devlin at Mondo Products, Parkway, Oshawa Parkway, Coin Car Wash, that's at Wilson and King. It's also a mouthful to say. Platinum Direct Drive Courier in Ajax, and Rad and Wes Realty. Say that 3 times fast. They've all supported us to make this happen. These things are not cheap. Please support them too. We're going to start today by using one of our own members, Rob Laidlaw, as our guest in the penalty box. I'm going to interview him about his fabulous career in the Canadian music industry. The man has literally played with almost every classic rock band you can name.
Lee Aaron, Kim Mitchell, Lana Miles, Rough Trade, Honeymoon Suite, Helix, Rick Emmett from Triumph. You know, some of the names escape me. Tom Cochrane for a short period. Did some recordings with Alanis Morissette.
Last year, we were about 1 month into the pandemic when Rob came over and we sat in my backyard, socially distanced, of course, and we discussed what was going to happen. Boy, did we ever not know. A year later, we're ready to start doing some virtual work so that you guys can hear what we're up to and so that we remind you of the talent in this region. I can't stress it enough. There's tons of talent and they're hurting. They really are. None of these guys have been able to do what they love for over a year. So please check them out when it all comes back. Anyway, for the interview portion of this, we decided that we might as well sit in my backyard, just like we did a year ago. And I asked Rob about his career, and here's some of his answers.
I was performing with an artist who had a record deal at the time, and he was sort of a local hero in Toronto, a fellow by the name of Johnny Loveson. And a lot of the local bands that were starting to emerge, Platinum Blonde, Honeymoon Suite, Chalk Circle, Pursuit of Happiness, they were all fans of this guy. So I started playing with this fella in '85, and I started, and we were playing all over the Alma Combo, which was probably one of the most happening clubs at the time, but all kinds of other clubs, Horseshoe Tavern, which is still around, Hotel Isabella. Anyway, so these different members of these bands would come check me out, or check him out, and conversely check me out. And at the time, the drummer that I was playing with, so I'm primarily a bass player, as you guys will see, we had an opportunity to, for lack of better analogy, show off on our instruments. So brought a great deal of attention to me as a bass player specifically, and the singer from Platinum Blonde actually asked me to join right before Alien Shores, which was sort of their, I'd say their signature record. Their first record did well, but the Alien Shores is what really catapulted them into the height of their '80s fame. And at the time, I had another offer on the table from the band that I went with, a band called New Regime. But anyway, 30 years later, I ended up working, or 25 years later, I ended up working with Platinum Blonde, and we're going to play one of their earliest hits, Doesn't Really Matter.
forgotten. They tried to kill our lust for passion. They tried to tell us that it's not in fashion. And if you were to ask the questions, what are we fighting for? We're just breaking down the door. Doesn't really matter. We've been through this all before. Doesn't really matter to me. The fight in England and Northern Ireland, the police, they try to hold us still. They can beat us and they can bleed us, but you know they'll never control our will. And if you were to ask the questions, what are we fighting for? We're just breaking down the door. Doesn't really matter. We've been through this all before. Doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't really matter. We've been through this all before. Doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Go! It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. Oh, it doesn't really matter. Oh, it doesn't really matter. 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 Doesn't really matter.
Well, the thing we're trying to get across to people, we're trying to introduce people to the level of talent that actually performs in this area on a regular basis. You, of course, bring a lot of experience from, large acts back in the 80s, 90s. Well, even still, you're still playing with Toronto when they tour. If they ever tour again, hopefully we will. So let's focus on specifically on some of the bands, like individual, the ones we're going to play. We're going to play songs from Kim Mitchell and Platinum Blonde, and the one that you wrote with
Mike Reno.
And
Honeymoon Suite.
Honeymoon Suite. So let's start with Kim. I mean, back in the 90s, was
Yeah.
it early 90s?
Yep.
And I mean, Kim was the biggest. They used to call him the eternal teenager. He was the biggest Canadian. Certainly, every musician in Canada would have wanted that gig. And what did it feel like to get asked to, replace Pete for a tour?
Yeah, well, that really, no diminishing aspect. I mean, you very succinctly, gave a good analogy of who Kim was at the time, and really has sealed his place in the pantheon of Canadian music for sure. I mean, he's had a 50-year robust career, vital career, and from Max Webster on to his solo career, it was unparalleled for me. It literally, as a sideman, which is really what I became for over a decade, actually, 15 years anyway. it elevated me to the status of not having to, say, audition for jobs. Max Webster was truly the soundtrack for, I know, Ted, you and I, as teenagers with Rush. And then his solo career actually eclipsed the success of Max Webster. And I sort of came on board at a time where the height of his career was at an all-time peak. So I had been touring with Lee Aaron at the time, and I was out east actually touring with Karen, and I got a phone call from the merchandise company actually that was out on the road with Kim, and Peter Fredette, who'd been with Kim for his whole career, accepted a gig with Tom Cochrane, and so that bass playing singing chair was open for the first time in 15 years. Yeah. So I came back. There was a cattle call of sort of all the working bass players in the city, and I remember sitting. It was down at this rehearsal space, big sound stage downtown Toronto, and it was like a bunch of lemmings sitting there with our bass guitars, waiting to jump off the bloody cliff.
Our house had the biggest patio. Our house had all the summer shade. We had patio lanterns. We spent half the night making lemonade, which we drank a lot, 'cause we were all so shy and nervous. Who will be the first to dance? Who will be the first to kiss under those patio lanterns? Those patio lanterns, they were the stars in the sky. Those patio lanterns lighting up our lives. Those patio lanterns, they were the stars in the sky.
the opportunity to play with Kim was too great to give up, and it changed the trajectory of my career immensely. Yeah, I didn't have to audition for jobs after that. It was literally people calling me to see if I was available to do the work that they had before them. So
You were playing with Honeymoon Suite when I met you, which is going back early 2000s, I believe.
20 years.
Yeah, is it really that long?
It is. It's 20 years, buddy. I know. Let's face fact. We're old.
Yes, we are. Experienced.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
how did that happen?
So Honeymoon Suite, again, had run into the boys all through the, not so much in the 80s, actually, which was sort of their peak for their career, but on different festivals through the 90s, for sure. So had a peripheral awareness of certainly had a very realistic awareness of their music, but peripheral awareness of them as fellows. I started playing with them. It started off as an opportunity to produce a record for Johnny and Derry at the time, right? And it was literally demos. Actually, graciously, the fellow who's engineering this session, Anthony, works up at Chalet Studio, and I've done a lot of work at Chalet Studio over the years. And I had an arrangement with the owner, so I literally took John and Derry up to the studio to record 3 songs, and that's how that started. In the middle of the recording, Derry, who basically manages Honeymoon Suite, got a phone call to do a 3-week run out west, and he literally just said, "Rob, why don't you learn the set?" They'd been off the road for a while. They were sort of focusing on writing, and he said it'd just be easier if you just learn the set, and we'll just go out and do this little run and then come back and focus on the record. And that led to a 5-year tenure playing with them. Produced 2 records for them, and I produced Johnny D, the singer's only solo record. So yeah, that's how that came about. And we're going to be doing the song that Dermot wrote when he was in Fanshawe College. I think still their most enduring hit, which is New Girl Now.
Hot summer night, storm clouds in the air. My eyes are heavy, you know my mind isn't even aware. I don't want you on the phone, don't you play good girl with me. Why must I always say it again? I got a new girl now. I got a new girl now. Oh, I got a new girl now. She's a lot like you. Tried to wash my face, but my head was so low. Tried to bury myself, but my mind won't even allow. I don't care if you're sitting at home, somebody's broken into me. Why must I always say it again? I got a new girl now. I got a new girl now. I got a new girl now. She's a lot like you.
also just not long after I met you, you suddenly, there was some reformation of Loverboy with Survivor members or something.
Yeah,
like
that
that.
I'll just briefly. So the end of my tenure with Honeymoon Suite really parlayed to an opportunity I had downtown Toronto at a club that was trying to. It was right in the entertainment district, which was littered with dance clubs and the like. And this club was trying to forge a new live music concept, and I got tapped to be the musical director for this club, and it afforded me the opportunity. So Friday and Saturday nights at this club were given. It was a good crowd. Thursday nights they were struggling. So the owner and I, sort of based on my personal and professional contacts, he and I came up with a concept, and it was called Retro Rewind Thursdays. Say that 10 times fast. And we partnered up at the time with a radio station, Jack FM, that would promote the evening, and he gave me a budget to go out and hire the singers from all of these bands, 80s bands, and the backing band I had together was some of the best players in the city. So that afforded me the opportunity to hire Johnny D, to hire Kim Mitchell, to do a specific night downtown Toronto. So low fuss, no muss, and it was almost like back in our day when we would make a mixtape of hit songs of that specific band. It would be a 45-minute of just their hits. So for the consumer, for the audience, it was a great opportunity, to come and see Honeymoon Suite set, but no B or C sides, all A tracks. And I got the opportunity to, and again, I'd met Mike Reno, Loverboy singer, through festival shows. And I ended up, I was able to hire Mike, flew him in. And we had such a great time that he literally said, "Rob, this is a great concept. Do you want to look at my phone book at the time and see if any of the singers from the 80s bands that he had known and toured with would be interested in doing the series?" And it ended up going wonderfully. I ended up working with Jimmy Jameson from Survivor, Eddie Money, all kinds of singers from the 80s. And it kind of it morphed into for about 3 years. It got bigger than just that a residency at that club in Toronto. I ended up doing some really fun gigs. I mean, I would think one of the most notable was John Daly, the golfer who's sort of a bit of a renegade on the PGA Tour. We did his personal golf tournament, and we were the entertainment, me, Mike, and Jimmy from Survivor, and we had the keyboard player from Night Ranger, and it was sort of an all-star band. And again, the opportunity was really predicated on the goodwill and the validation of Mike Reno saying, "Yeah, this guy's a reliable guy. We can trust him." But anyway, long story short, that was how I met Mike Reno, and that flourished into a really neat writing partnership.
And the song we're going to do.
Yeah, we're going to do a song that Mike and I wrote specifically for 9/11, and CBS did a stop animation of the rebirth of Ground Zero from the day that it actually collapsed, and so they literally filmed it up until the special aired 2011, 10 years after. So yeah, we're gonna play Triumph Over Tragedy, and Mike and I we haven't written so much in the last decade, but we certainly did for about I'd say 5 to 7 years. Whenever I was in Vancouver, whenever he was in Toronto, we'd get together and we'd write. And it's just one of the most organically, I can sort of count on one hand the number of singers that I've met over the years that it is just this universe, God-given talent, whatever, to be able to create melody and lyric effortlessly.
1, 2, 3, 4. What they've done, they've taken everything. As we sat and watched it all come tumbling down, and they can't steal our American dream. The shining sun, it disappears as the looks on people's faces turn to tears. And they can't steal our American dream. We will heal. You can't take that away from me. We're gonna shout out loud. The cries heard around the world. We're gonna triumph over tragedy. Take a look. Look what they've done. They've taken everything. As we sat and watched it all come tumbling down, but they can't steal our American dream. We will heal. They can't take that away from me. We're gonna shout out loud. The cries heard around the world. We're gonna triumph over tragedy. Take a look. We're gonna shout out loud. The cries heard around the world. We're gonna triumph over tragedy. Take a look. Look what they've done. Look what they've done. We will overcome. The shining sun disappeared as the looks on people's faces turn to tears. We will heal. Yeah, we will. We will heal. You can't take that away from me. We're gonna shout out loud. The cries heard around the world. We're gonna triumph over tragedy. Take a look. We're gonna shout out loud. The cries heard around the world. We're gonna triumph over tragedy. Woo!
Career has moved more towards the production end. Obviously, with things the way they are, our live performances have been
Cut off.
curtailed, cut off. So thus the production of these videos that we're going to do. Like I talked about at the beginning, but tell us a little bit about the song that you're about to play, and tell us a couple of things about like some of the artists that you're working with right now. They're younger, up and coming.
Yep. So again, as I stated, sort of the thread that has connected my entire career was songwriting. Producing sort of came morphed out of that organically. As I met artists, as I worked with artists over the years, I just started, I'd be playing on their recordings. They'd ask me for my ideas. For a quick delineation of what producing really is, it's being musical, having some technical awareness, but not necessarily, and having creative ideas. So being able to access your creative intelligence in an articulate way that makes sense to the client or the artist. I just literally signed a blues based singer. Just started pre-production with her on Tuesday, this past Tuesday. I've got sort of a new country guy, sort of an organic pop new country girl, And then I've got a straight up pop girl but has a really powerful voice. I'd liken her to sort of an Amanda Marshall, another really great Canadian gal. And in every one of those cases, I'm co-writing, producing, and producing also entails hiring of the musicians, the studio, the sort of overseeing the entire project. So that's literally where I am today. And the song that I'm going to perform for you is a song I wrote about 4 years ago. Again, I've always been writing all through the years, so I've got sort of a catalog of my own songs. But invariably, I end up covering them for these artists. Like this song I'm going to play is being covered by one of the artists that I'm producing right now.
That's I think that pretty much covers it. I think we've got, unless there's something I've forgotten to ask you about that you'd like to talk about.
Nope, I'm all good.
If not, okay.
Enjoy the beginning of our series. We're looking forward to it.
Rob Laidlaw, Pretty Mess.
Don't go solely by the expression on my face. My whole world changed, but I'm glad you're here with what's his name. 'Cause I'll exercise restraint of all the things you ain't. You're hypnotized, it's no surprise. Good luck with that. I must confess, you're such a pretty mess. Empty promises and heartache, a girl in distress. I must confess, you're such a pretty mess. We hit the wall, a stupid call, P.S. You're a pretty mess. Before I met you, my world was dry like toast. A hard luck trading post. Happy maidens, most they left me. What was I thinking? Inflicted so much pain. And now you're gone and I've moved on. Good luck with that game. I must confess, you're such a pretty mess. Empty promises and heartache, a girl in distress. I must confess, you're such a pretty mess. We hit the wall, a stupid call, P.S. You're a pretty mess. Don't go solely, you can read it in my face. My whole world changed. I'm glad you're here with what's his name. Won't play those games, they're not my thing. Don't go solely by the expression on my face. My whole world changed, but I'm glad you're here with what's his beak. 'Cause I must confess, you're such a pretty mess. Empty promises and heartache, a girl in distress. I must confess, you're such a pretty mess. We hit the wall, a stupid call, P.S. We hit the wall, a stupid call. You're a pretty mess. Pretty mess.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed your first 30 minutes in the penalty box or thereabouts. Next time we've got Darren Smith sitting in with the penalty box for 30 minutes, and you're going to want to check that out. Remember to support our sponsors as they're supporting us, and if you want to help out yourself, there's a link in the description to our PayPal account, and make sure you hit the subscription button and the little notification bell so you know when the next one of these episodes is produced. Thanks for tuning in.